The coffee had gone cold, but I held the mug anyway, letting the ceramic anchor me as their voices blurred into polite dismissal under the harsh buzz of fluorescent lights and a sharp scent of citrus and condescension. The quarterly review had been underway for 20 minutes before my name surfaced. "She's bright," someone said, almost as a concession, "but she loses focus, doesn't follow through, just not leadership material." No one met my eyes. I didn't interrupt or defend. Instead, I watched the decision settle quietly. Evan would lead the project again. They moved on while I stayed still. That room held no space for what I was building, not yet, so I gave them silence, packed my notes, and left without a word. Yet every sentence echoed, filing itself deeper than anger. They called me lazy. I didn't argue, I just left. And in that space, the one they mistook for absence, I began. The invitation still sat in my inbox, but the decision no longer did. Instead of drowning in noise, I chose stillness, quiet reflection behind the screen's glow, where the label lazy lost its grip and gave way to a different narrative. I listened to the silence between their judgments, feeling the calm contrast to their chatter, and reframed their dismissal as a sign not of failure, but of misalignment. In that space, I resolved to rebuild quietly, with precision rather than protest. The room had echoed with exclusion, but I heard everything. They talked over me, but I was listening, and that silence was about to become my strength. Back then, effort looked like chaos. Late nights, over-highlighted textbooks, a scatter of unfinished notebooks, and the steady refrain of smart but undisciplined. I wore disorganization like a mask, hiding the whirlwind inside, while teachers labeled me selective genius with a sigh that stung more than it soothed. Now, contrast sharpens. Instead of scattered pages, I have a Notion dashboard that orchestrates my days with quiet control, color-coded timelines, time-stamped logs, and a rhythm of calm. The old report card with red circles for inconsistent sits beside my precise monthly learning logs, a reminder not of failure, but of growth. The people who called me distracted weren't villains, they just couldn't hear my signal through the noise. I finally can. It didn't arrive in a blaze, but as a quiet line drawn during a morning ritual, 30 minutes a day, no exceptions, just showing up, no applause required. I wrote it down by hand. 30 minutes, every day. I set a silent alarm labeled unlock, turning those minutes into keys that would open my focus, not the noisy world's approval. I rearranged my desk to face a window, where a faint breeze whispered of distance and perspective, silence versus chaos. This boundary wasn't about proving them wrong, it was about trusting myself again. If you've ever been called lazy, what did they overlook? For me, once I stopped arguing with their labels, space opened for my own story. I gave myself 30 days to test, discard, and refine. No pricey courses, no flashy apps, just practical tools under $50. I blocked 25-minute learning sprints on Google Calendar, used a forest app that punished distractions by killing virtual trees, and discovered I absorbed more, walking with audiobooks and Otter.ai voice notes. My YouTube playlists became private labs of accelerated learning, while Notion transformed into a searchable index for every insight. I watched Ian, the calm corner office guy, close his laptop at 5 sharp and realized mastery wasn't hustle but orchestration. By month's end, I cut half my apps, muted notifications, and reclaimed my energy. The forest grew. So did my roots. Without fanfare, I dropped a fully prepped Google Drive folder into Slack, notes, timelines, polished summaries, all dated and detailed. The team paused. Evan's ping came. "How long have you been working on this?" I let silence answer before admitting 3 weeks of quiet mornings and focused sprints. No extra hours, just better use of time. Later, the manager forwarded my work to regional leads. Unchanged, no edits, no questions, just approval. No applause needed. The people who dismissed me now mimicked my methods quietly. I hadn't taken their seat. I'd built my own space, silent and structured. The first sharp email arrived at 7:03 a.m. Concerns the subject. Thinly veiled doubt about whether I'd outsourced my work or violated policies. I forwarded it to HR and stayed focused. Then disaster struck. My external drive crashed mid-backup, forcing a $119 recovery and lost hours, a stark reminder that control is fragile. HR asked for files, so I provided meticulous proof. Time-stamped Notion logs, Google Drive metadata, voice memos. Weeks of tension passed before HR cleared me, no apology given. Evan never confronted me, but I caught him copying my templates, avoiding my gaze. When discrediting fails, silence studies you. I agreed to meet Evan not with anger, but to close the unspoken tension. In a smaller, quieter conference room, he arrived calm, yet carrying a folder that felt symbolic. We sat across from each other, the usual noise of emails replaced by stillness. "You've been efficient," he said, half challenge, half acknowledgement. I met his gaze, explaining I wasn't competing on their terms, but working smarter with intention. For a moment, I saw the human beneath the corporate armor, pressure and control clashing. He admitted underestimating me. I slid my Notion dashboard across the table. This was no longer just work, but a method. The conversation ended without fanfare. A truce born in respect, not noise. That boundary wasn't just with Evan. It was a reclamation of my time and voice. I banned late-night emails and last-minute urgent tasks, turning my calendar into a fortress of focus. Notifications were purged, priorities color-coded, and my Notion dashboard transformed into a private command center where every project was a room I owned. Colleagues noticed, not the hustle, but the steady control, and remarked, "You seem more present. If you felt overlooked, what boundary could you set today to honor your worth?" For me, the quietest comeback is a boundary sharp enough to protect what matters. The office hasn't changed, but I have. The quiet space I carved is more mindset than place. Each morning, I still open that window to the world, a reminder that control is choice, not confinement. I'm planning a workshop next quarter, sharing how to build systems that sustain without burnout, precise, real, accessible. The past fuels the future I'm building. If they called me lazy, I'm now the architect of relentless focus. That's the quietest mic drop I'll ever make. This isn't the end. It's the start of showing up on my terms, with purpose and silent power.